is Tara, and I'm so excited to invite you to listen to my show, Life with Tara, on Women Radio 91.7 every Sunday at 1 p.m., where we will go beyond the veil and talk about those difficult conversations we shy away from. Life with Tara, Sundays, 1 p.m. on Women Radio 91.7.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome to the month of November. It's been a while since I've been on air, but I just said, let me come back. And I have a very beautiful session with you guys today. So, welcome to another insightful and honest edition of Life with Tara, your go to show for real talk, deep insights, and honest conversations about the things that truly matter, the things that we hardly talk about, but we murmur, underneath our breath. We talk to people, in whispers. But we always like to shine the light on those dark places and so bring about honest conversations about the things that we think about but are not too bold enough to share. I'm Tara Ishida, and every Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. on this station, we dive into the heart of life experiences, love, friendship, careers, self growth, and everything in between. Whether it's navigating relationships, embracing change, or finding purpose, we keep it real, relatable, and refreshing. So grab a seat, turn up the volume, and let's explore life together because every story matters and every lesson counts. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches many homes and many hearts, both parents and children, and I've titled it The Irresistible Pull of the Absent Parent. And I'll tell you how I came about that topic. One, because I've lived that experience, and two, because I happened upon a Facebook page and I read a story about a mother who said to our listeners and our readers that our child, that she stayed with and lived all her life with, especially when the father left them, you know, secretly ran away from home. She couldn't find the child for days. She was, she thought the child had been kidnapped. Something bad had happened to the child. She just got home and couldn't find her child. The child didn't tell her anything, and it was maybe some hours after she had made a police report. Was in turmoil. Then the child reaches across and says, "Oh, she's with her dad in another state." And the mother was upset. This same man that had been absent, the child was a teenager, the same man that had been absent for most of her life, she ran away from the mother that had stayed with her, and went to meet this man. And after months with him, one day she called home and says, crying, and says, "Oh, she wants to come back to her mom." And her mom said, "You know what? You're going to stay there for some time, you know, and, live with him, learn to live with him." She was actually sending her money because, of course, the father, after the initial greetings and everything, behaved true to type and turned his back on her, even though she was living with him. So the child realized that her mother had been right about who her father was all the while, that he was unreliable, selfish, and emotionally unavailable. And so she played with her mom. And after some months, her mom, of course, you know, relented and sent her transport money back home. And she came back home. And a lot of women applauded her decision. I did too. I did applaud her decision because I wanted the child to, I was happy that the child got to know who her other parent really was and that her mother wasn't telling her tales just because she was bitter. I was a bit, concerned that the child ran away from home, didn't tell her mom before she left. But that we will unpack later in the show. Maybe the reasons why she might have done that. But I also saw something else. And as I said earlier, because I have a lived experience, I understood where the child was coming from, and I was empathetic towards that child. And there was another lady in the comment section in that post, who said she was 30 years old, if I remember correctly, and she was also living that experience, and she understood what that child might be going through and the reasons why that child did the things they did and ran away from home and went to meet the father that was unreliable and that did not stay. Because no matter how much we explain it, there's a pull that children feel towards a missing parent. It's the same pull that an adopted child feels towards the biological parent. That pull that says, what happened? Why did they leave me? Maybe life could be better, with them, or different in a better way. What am I missing out from not knowing this parent? What have they told me? Is it the truth? Are they lies? So it's a deep emotional and very human thing to do. But a lot of times we don't relate to those things, especially as parents, especially looking at it from the point of view of the parent that stayed. But I must say to you that there's an irresistible pull for the absent parent. And, you know, a lot of people will say, I can relate, especially when you're the absent parent. Maybe you are the one that has left and you're fighting over this child. You need this child, and, somebody else is telling stories about the child. Or even if you're the one that lives with the child, and you're betwixt two. The marriage could have been acrimonious. It could have been good. You could even just have separated just because the person wasn't emotionally available. And let me say, it's not a gender thing. This works both ways, both for female and male. There's that tendency to want to deprive your child of the presence of the other parent. I'm a family lawyer. I do a lot of divorces. And when there are children involved, I see that very often. Whether from the male point of view, you have fathers that don't want their children to have access to their mothers just because they've parted. And you see it also from the female point of view. You have women who say, oh, he's a deadbeat father. Why should my child have anything to do with them? But the thing that we often forget as parents is that that child is a sum of both of you. So the child has both parts of you in them, and it's only natural, only normal for the child to know there's something missing in me and want to look for that. So I have a lot of responses from people because I wrote an article about this earlier in the week. And you will find out that if you've been a child and you've lived that experience, you will understand why that child did what she did by running away. What I don't understand, but what I don't like, but understand also, and we'll get there too, is why she did it without her mother's knowledge. So, our phone lines are 07000 You can call us on those lines, to give us your contributions, to comment on whatever I've said, to even say, no, I don't accept what you're saying. And our WhatsApp number is 08155917917. We'd love to hear from you because I believe that this is a topic that we all need to understand, we all need to learn from. Because you see, every child, no matter how old they are, carries a deep longing to know where they come from. And like I said, that's why you find an adopted child that has been adopted by maybe a wealthy family, everything is good, knows that their parents or his parents love her or him, and then finds out that they are adopted and goes to look for that adopted parent. And everyone wonders why. Everything was going well. It's just because there's a deep longing to know where we're from. And it's not just about the parent who was there, it's also about the one who wasn't. As children, we often go searching for answers, for closure, for connection, to even know whether that hereditary, that trait that I have, is from my father's side or my mother's side, to know if the stories that have been told about my father or my mother are true. So even when the present parent is loving and responsible, there's a curiosity that never fully goes away. And a lot of times we look at it as rebellion. That's why for the parent that stayed, it's very painful because we see it after all I've done. after all I've been there. I could have easily walked out. I could have easily abandoned, but I didn't, and it's like a betrayal. But I want us to look at it in a different way today. It's not betrayal. It's not even rebellion. It's basically identity seeking. They're looking for some part of themselves that is missing, and sometimes you don't even have to tell them. Sometimes they don't even understand why they're doing that themselves. But I can assure you that it's an identity problem. It's not betrayal, it's not rebellion, and we shouldn't see it like that. And I think the more when we tend to see it as an identity thing and a natural thing, then we can understand it better, and then we can even structure it better. We'll go back, we'll get to that, because I personally believe that unless the other parent is unstable, and your child would, be abused in one way or the other, every child should have access to their parent. Let them see who the person is. Let them know them for themselves, and you won't have to preach much. So really, 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 children want to understand themselves better by seeing where the other half of them came from. And some people have told me that they understood themselves better. They understood certain traits from them, their temper, the way they talk, the way they reason sometimes. It's very funny what genes can do. And even though we may not stay together in the same house, our genetic traits show up in our lives and in the lives of our children. And so people, when they meet their other parent, some people come to the realization, that's why I am the way that I am, that's why I look the way that I look, that's why my family. Because it's not, sometimes it's not even only the parent that they come to close contact with. They come to know their roots, so they start to know their cousins, they start to know their other siblings, half siblings, they start to know their grandparents, wherever they're from. So it's really, really an identity thing. Somebody has told me once that she once searched for her mom when she was 19, just to hear her voice, just to know how she sounded, just to know what she looked like. She saw herself in the mirror, she had seen pictures, but she didn't have any idea of who her mom was, just to know her, just to hear her voice once. And it helped her move on, that okay, she was alive, but it was her choice not to have a connection with her, and that settled a lot of things for because all the while she was thinking, oh, maybe she didn't know, maybe it was my own, the child's fault. But when she realized that, look, this person made a conscious effort not to be in my life for whatever reasons, it helped her to move on. So it's very important. Like I said, it is an identity thing, and we must start to look at it that way. Now, let's be real, and I want to go into the nitty gritty of it. The parent who stays often carries both love and pain, and that's the truth. You do everything. The school runs, you're there when the child wakes, when the child goes to sleep, you pay the bills sometimes it's split, sometimes you carry everything. And then one day, that child that you've done everything, that you have used and said, oh, this is the child that would repay me back, all the good that I've done. That child looks you in the eye and tells you, I want to meet my parent. It is betrayal. There's no way, there's no way, we can say it. It is betrayal. But something that I found out, and something a lot of children are saying, but can't say to the parent who stayed, is that sometimes that parent who stayed, the responsible parent, can be toxic without realizing it. Sometimes, and it is true, but very hard to admit, that the fact that you stayed, the fact that you're the parent that raised the child, doesn't automatically make you the emotionally healthier parent. Sometimes we, the parent that stayed, can be very bitter, can be in pain, can suffer a lot of disappointment from that failed relationship. And that bitterness, that pain, that disappointment spills into how we raise our children. I remember somebody that came to meet me some years back, and I cried that day, because her story was so pathetic. She grew up with her father, and one day she decided to go and look for her mother because, of course, she had stepmothers. They weren't treating her well. And she went to look for her mother and stayed with her mother for a while. And she found out that her mother's place wasn't any better because her mother kept on abusing her. Apparently, her mother had her for her father. Didn't know at the time, because I think the father was a transporter. Didn't know at the time that she met him that he was married, and so had an eye for him. And it was when she got pregnant she discovered that he was a married man with children. And so the man decided and said, "Oh, I'm going to," she lived with him for a while, but she couldn't stand, the polygamous home, and so she left. And the man said she couldn't take the lady with her, so she left her daughter there. And when the daughter was of age, some maybe in her teens, went to look for her mom, but she was so bitter about the father. And you know what? The daughter looked exactly like the father. So every time she saw the girl, it was a reminder of the failed relationship, and she cursed her. She was so bitter. They're now together. They've made up. She's apologized and done everything, and just admitted that she allowed the effects of the relationship to spill into her relationship with her child. But it's just a big example and a practical example and a true example of the fact that we, even those that she was one that went, but the child came to stay with her for a while. So sometimes, even when we stay with our children, sometimes we're so damaged that we spill over onto that child. Sometimes it's that we overprotect them. We say, don't do this, don't do that, thinking that we're keeping them safe. A lot of times is that we badmouth the other parent without realizing the confusion it causes to that child. Because you know what? The child, like I said earlier, is a byproduct of the both of you. So you're bad mouthing the child, you're about mouthing part of the child. Sometimes we might guilt trip them. Maybe the child even asks questions earlier in the life and says, "Oh, I would like to know my father," or "My father, my mother, my this," and you're like, that low life, that dead bitch, just leave them. And so the child learns that they shouldn't talk about the other parent, even though they're curious about that parent, even though they long for that parent. But because they see how much we're doing, they decide to say, okay, you know what, I'll just um, support my mom or my father by not asking about this parent. And sometimes for us, it's daily reminders for the child that we're holding it over their heads. I'm the one now that is doing this, I'm the one that is doing that, your father, your mother is not there, and so the child feels overly grateful, overly, you know, um, responsible towards us, and they cannot even entertain the thought of the other parent. And a lot of people have said it to me. If some parents, you know, um, I know someone that said to me that she didn't know she was guilt tripping until her daughter told her that, "Mommy, I feel bad for loving daddy," and that broke her. Because a child shouldn't be in that kind of position where they have to choose who they should talk to, who they should love, and who they shouldn't love. A child should be able to love both parents, whether equally or not, I don't know. But you should be able to, a child shouldn't feel guilty for loving another parent. And if we really, 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 really want the welfare of our children, we must begin to start to look at how we can co-parent. Yeah, I know that sometimes it's very difficult to do that, but we should, because when we are not emotionally um balanced or emotionally healed, and I'm talking to the parent that stayed, when we're not emotionally balanced or emotionally healed from the effects of the failed relationship, without meaning to, we make our children carry our wounds. And they don't even have to, we don't have to tell them things. Children are very sensitive, and they can sense things. They might not be able to articulate it, they might not be able to put in words, what is happening to them and what they're being told, but they know. They know when love is mixed with resentment. They do know. And a lot of our children are living under that burden, because they're grateful that you, the parent that has stayed, but they also know that your love is it's a bitter love, so to speak. It's a love that provides, it's a love that shelters, it's a love, but it's a love that is not accepting of them in their totality. They know that they're being made to choose sides, even subtly, and they often respond by seeking balance, and it's that balance that gets the staying parent upset, because they feel, am I not the one that has been there for you? What do you want that other parent for? So we as the parents that stayed must heal, must let go of resentment even when it is justified, because it's not about the parent. It's not about your former spouse. It's not about the absent parent. It's really, really about the child. It's about creating space for your child to make their own discoveries safely while still feeling loved and supported at home. So I would like to ask the parent that stayed, before reacting, maybe you should ask yourself some questions. Oh yes, the relationship was terrible. Oh yes, the relationship is still terrible and still acrimonious. But it pays to pause and ask yourself, first of all, when a child comes to meet you about the other parent, the absent parent, what's motivating their desire? You should ask. So it's just not to shut them up. Parents, African parents, we like to shut the children up. What are you saying? You don't know what you're saying. But I keep on saying that children are miniature adults. They have the same emotions, they have the same feelings that we have as adults. They just most times don't know how to put it well, don't know how to represent themselves properly, don't know how to present their own sides of the argument. Most times they're very emotional about things, but it doesn't mean that the emotions that they are portraying does not have some logic or some reason underneath it. So ask them, what's motivating their desire? Is it that they just want to know? Is it that they feel that they could be better there? Whatever it is, listen, pause, don't take it personal. Now, are they seeking truth? Are they seeking closure? Are they seeking connection? Are they seeking validation? If they're doing that, ask yourself, are you providing that? You can't provide everything, but are you providing your full measure of that? So that you know that it's not because it's totally lacking with you that they're going to seek it from the other parent. Now, are they in danger? If they do identify with this parent, if they do go to the parent, would they be in danger? You should ask yourself, has the parent shown, you know, if while you were together, that you have nothing to be afraid of if they take the child for the weekend or whatever, can you allow that safely, maybe with boundaries, maybe with supervision? And finally, and most importantly, is your refusal or whatever feelings that you're feeling about a child wanting to identify with the absent parent, is it about protecting them or is it about protecting you? You see, when we ask ourselves questions, we'll get the answers. A lot of times we're not honest with ourselves. And because we're not honest with ourselves, we don't really get to the root of the problem and the root of the situation. But if you really ask yourself, is it about protecting yourself or protecting the child? Then I think that's even the first question you should ask. Then you will have a framework to be able to design what you want if you know that it's for the benefit of the child. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's one of the hardest things to do. Letting your child connect with someone that is your enemy in quote, someone who's let you down, someone who's disappointed you, someone who might not even have changed. A lot of times the reasons why we restrict access is because we don't want the child to get hurt, and that's valid, very valid. But the thing I found out, and it's human nature, the more you forbid something, the more you feed the curiosity. Check the Garden of Eden. don't eat that fruit. That was the fruit that looked the most appealing to Adam and Eve from what we've been told. So I think it's better to create a safe space for that relationship to unfold, so that most importantly your child knows that they can come with to you with anything they see and feel without fear of being judged, and that you don't have a situation where the child runs away, and doesn't let you know where they are. I think that is more of a betrayal than even, going to the child, that you are not aware that your child wants or goes over to the absent parent. So someone's asking me, I can't co-parent peacefully. She poisons their mind, or he poisons their mind. What do I do? Another one is saying that it's hard to stay calm when your child comes back repeating lies that the other parent has said about you. So what do you do when it's so acrimonious that you can't, that you'll be at the disadvantage? And this is where discernment is key. Discernment is key. If your child wants to see the other parent and they're not in a physical or emotional danger, try to make it happen in a safe and structured way. Supervise visits, check-ins, short stays. Because, and I'll give my example. I've said it often, my parents got separated when I was about 6 or 7. And I want to publicly applaud my mom today because she never restricted access, and their relationship after the divorce or separation was acrimonious. My parents couldn't stay in the same room together. There would be electricity flying, but she never said never go. So we had access to my father in his space. He would come sometimes, pick us up from church. He didn't come into the to my mom's house. He would just, once he comes, he owns, and we heard the on. He had a special way of owning. We'll go downstairs, go and meet him. He takes us to church, brings us back home. And that's it. We've had our time out with him. She allowed him to take us travel outside the country without any fear. Anyway, there wasn't any jackpot syndrome then, but there wasn't any fear that he wasn't going to bring us back. She allowed him take us even to his sister's house. So sometimes when we were supposed to spend holidays with him, instead of staying at home with him because he didn't have a wife or a house help or anything, he would just go and take us to his sister's place, and we spent the whole holiday there. But I'm happy for that. You know why? Because I got to know his family. I wouldn't have known his family otherwise. So even though it was a very acrimonious separation, my parents' own, my mom was very, very liberal, and she understood. She's not a physiotherapist or psychologist, but she understood that fact. And even then, we still blame that sometimes, But at least we can't say that she denied us access to our father. And our father too, while he was alive, couldn't say that he was denied access, because whatever access he wanted, he got it in his space on their terms. They didn't even sit down to, I don't think they ever sat down to discuss how access will be. But, if we wanted to go, we will go, and then we will ask for permission. And it just worked out that way. So it's important. If my father is dead now, but if I didn't have that access to him, there would always be a missing part in my life that I will have felt, oh, maybe something might have happened to me, or maybe I'm this way because I didn't, stay with my father. I didn't see my father. I didn't know who he was. I have a relationship with his family, with his siblings, with my cousins, because I had access to him. It's very, very important. Yes, your mother's family or your father's family or one family can ground you. I'm not saying that they can't, but there's something to knowing the other side. There's really, really something to it. When you go there and you find out that it's it's not worth your while, it's a different thing. But at least you're the one that has made the decision. No one has made that decision for you. So, based on my personal experience and that of few children like me, I think that even if the relationship is limited or structured, even if it's just supervised visits, it is important for children to experience both sides. They need to see the truth, not just hear it. Everything you are telling them, they will just be saying, okay, yes, but let me go, let me go. It takes experiencing rejection from a parent for a child to believe that a parent will reject them. It takes them looking the parent in the eye and the parent saying, go away, I don't want you, for them to believe there's nothing you're going to say. The child will always say, ah, no, when he sees me, when she sees me, she's going, I'm a child, she's going to accept me. But when they go themselves, then they know. So they need to see the truth, not just hear it. You can tell them 101 and billion times that their father or mother is unreliable, but until they witness it, it won't sink in. And when it finally does, they won't resent you from keeping them away. They will understand. Not because you said, I told you so, but because life itself has shown them. One thing I know for sure is that children grow up, and when they do, they start to see both parents clearly, very clearly. Not through stories or emotional lessons, but from their lived experiences. They start to see you for who you are. And that's just the truth of the matter. So they may not say it loud too. Children may not say things loud, but they will understand who tried their best and who didn't. They will understand your pain, even if they don't agree with all your choices. They would remember who listened and who silenced them. They will see who used their pain as a weapon and who used love as healing. They will understand who tried to make them hate and who taught them love. The truth of the matter is that no parent, if you do well, if you're the person that you ought to be, there's no point. You don't need to fight for anybody's loyalty, any child's loyalty. Just be consistent, be kind, be understanding. Be the parent who listens more than you lecture. And I can assure you that time will do the rest. Even especially when it comes to the teenage years, when the head is hot and the emotions and the all the chemicals in the body are reacting, they would pipe down and understand that you've been the person that you ought to be for them. So if your child ever goes searching for the parent, don't see it as a betrayal. See it as a part of their growing up, as their need to understand their roots. And it's not about rejection. I've said that severally. They're not rejecting you. They're not being ungrateful for the things that you've done and the things that you've done for them, for their. It's not about that. It's about identity. It's about trying to make peace with the part of their story that has always felt incomplete. And if perchance they come back home, like the girl that came back home in the story that I said earlier on, you know, please don't throw it over there in their face. Don't tell them, aha, Shebi, you have seen what you want to see. They know already. That's why they are back. Don't shut the door on them because they are bruised, they're disappointed, and m- m- mostly ashamed. Don't shut the door on them. Don't say I warned you. Just hold them. you know just love them. Just understand the fact that it's not a rejection of you. You see, I don't understand why we do it here, especially in Nigeria, especially on social media. I don't understand why we feel that two realities cannot coexist. So a child can love being with you, want you, love you, is loyal to you, and still want to meet the other parent. It's not a betrayal at all. Two realities can exist. And we must start to face that fact, that the fact that she's choosing or she wants to see, or even that she's choosing the other parent, does not mean that she has left you. It just means that she wants to choose the other parent, or he wants to choose the other parent. So our job as parents is not to shield them from every disappointment, but to stay steady when they face it, when they return home, to remain home, that safe place where they can come back to as wiser and more grounded people. Because being the bigger person doesn't mean forgiving and forgetting. It means you're prioritizing your child's emotional growth over your pain. And I want that to sink in. Let us, as the parent that stayed, you know, think of the child's welfare. When it comes to children, in the divorce courts, in the family courts, the first consideration is the child's welfare. And it should be the same for us as parents. We should always look at what is going to be in the best interest of the child. And that's why I said, if the child is going to be damaged, abused, as a result of their relating with the other parent, then by all means, shut out communication. Maybe they can just do phone calls and whatever. But if there's no damage, to the child, no abuse, then we can structure it, and the child will invariably see what they ought to see. There's no doubt about that in my mind, because you can't hide for too long. So for that absent parent too, the absent parent that goes about and they do it. They go about um tempting, let me say, trying to tempt the child and win the child over to their favor. So a parent that hasn't done anything for a child just suddenly appears one day with gifts. They're the ones that will not pay school fees but will buy an expensive gadget for the child, you know. And what are you trying to do is to win their favors, to win them over to your side, you know. Stop toying with your child's emotions. If you don't want to be, don't come in and go out. There's some parents like that, the absent ones. They come in when it's convenient for them, and then they go out when it's not convenient for them. Be consistent. Whether you are the staying parent or the absent parent, be consistent in the life of the child. Don't toy with their emotions. Don't use them to get back at the other parent. The staying parent does that. The absent parent who does it, they come win their affections, because they know that if a child, comes to see them, the same parent obviously will think it's a betrayal and will react in a manner that will be pained. And it's that pain that the absent parents most times is looking for. Let me show them that it's my child now. You know, don't do that. Be consistent. This child is in the middle of both parents. There's a pull from you, no doubt, because of the genes, because of the emotions and everything. But show grace to the parent that has stayed all the while. Maybe you're back, maybe you're now thinking, of your fault. You want to make amends. For those that want to make amends, then show grace. Be sensitive. Don't demand. Don't now say don't just remember that the child is made up of both of you. Where were you all the while when this woman or man was laboring over this child? So it's just normal that you should show grace and really more or less succumb to their wishes as much as you can. So make it as convenient for them as you can, because you were the one that left. You can say I was pushed out, I was whatever, but you were the one that left. So you should understand that the other party that has stayed and that has done a good job, with that child that you left them with, needs to be prioritized, so to speak, if I can use that word, or needs to be maybe honored, if I can use that word too. Maybe they're too high faulting and you say, why should I honor them? Why should I prioritize them? But they did you a favor, really. If we look at it, in all with clear eye, as we say around this year, around this place, because if they didn't take care of the child, who would have? You walked away. So please, let's both parties be consistent. Our children, we see a lot of homes breaking up nowadays. Like I said, I'm a family lawyer, and the divorce courts, we have thousands and thousands of cases every month. People coming, and their children caught in the middle of it. And of course, it's not in not all cases, that you find that they settle peacefully. A lot of them is acrimonious. And we're looking at the children in between, children who find their identity from both parents now being made to choose solely one parent. Please, let's look at the children, and let's not think that they shouldn't want the other party, no matter how useless we think that they might be. Our phone lines are open: 07000 917 and our WhatsApp number is 08155 I'll take that again. Phone line 07000 and WhatsApp number is 08155 We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear your comments. Are you in that situation? Do you know somebody that is in that situation? Do you want some advice, or you want to contribute to the topic of today? Or are you a child, that's found herself caught in the toss and tug and struggle for control by one parent or the other? Hit us up and let's hear from you. But at the end of the day, the irresistible pull of the absent parent teaches us something profound, and that is that love, even when it's fractured, still longs for wholeness. You won't So many of the children that are caught in the middle of divorce and acrimony want some form of wholeness. Some of them might not want their parents back, because they know that it's totally impossible. But a lot of them want a peaceful situation, so to speak, where they can relate with both parents, if not equally, but adequately. Where they're not afraid to tell one parent that they're going to the other parent, for whatever they want, where they're not afraid to mention the other parent's name, even in the conversation, where they're not made to tell lies, you know, because one other parent has told them to. So today, basically, I'm advocating for the child, and explaining to us, why that pull of the absent parent is so irresistible for a child, and why, as parents, we should understand why it happens and see how we can, make it happen for the child, because of the child, and also structure it in the way that the child's welfare is the most important when we look at tussles and divorce and acrimony in marriage. So if you're the parent who stayed, please love without bitterness, even when it hurts. It's difficult, especially when your child is a reminder of the other parent, especially when they look like them, when they talk like them, when they behave like them, when they act like them. Please, 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 please don't let that be the reason why you take out your anger, your bitterness, your rage, your forgiveness on the child. And, don't feel that resentment that you're stuck. Because a lot of parents in that situation, want to leave, but they can't leave because maybe they're not built that way, or maybe because society, and this especially for mothers, because society would, tell them that they are bad mothers. So they're resentful about staying, and that resentment shows in the life of the child. If you're the one that has left, show up. Be consistent when you show up too. Don't damage what the work that the other parent has done. Don't be pleasant, be adjustable. Work with the other parent as much as you can, you know and it's not for the other parent. We're not doing anything. We know the marriage is finished, everything is gone, or whatever, the relationship is done, but it's for that child, and for the fact that you do want a future with that child. We find a lot of parents coming back in their old age to the children that they had left, and now asking for forgiveness. And some even come with it with an entitlement, that that dumbs me. But if you know that you have a child and you want a future with that child, then please do the rightful thing. Stay, show up, be consistent when you show up. And if you're the child, know this: your worth isn't tied to who stayed or who left. Let me say that again. Your worth, it's not tied to who stayed or who left. You are whole, you're loved, and you are enough. And nobody should make you feel less. Not the parent who stayed, not the parent who left. Now, in closing, let me say that sometimes the best gift we can give our children is the truth, wrapped in compassion. Let them one day look back and they'll remember not what we said about the other parent, but how we made them feel. Let them one day look back and say, oh, yes, my parent gave me the opportunity to choose. They didn't want to dictate to me what this other parent was. They gave me the freedom of choice to choose who to go with and who not to go with. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've ever experienced this pull or been the parent who had to let go, and you can share your stories with me on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, on my social media handles. Till next time, and that will be Sunday next week, 1 p.m. on this station, WFM 91.7. I'm Tara Ishida, and this has been Life with Tara, where we talk about real life, love, and the lessons in between. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely, lovely week. Bye.
This is WFM 91.7.
The Women Radio membership, they connect you with other market women, the ones who get their own business. Students, so women where they stay house, even farmers and pensioners for the 36 states of Nigeria. As a Women Radio member, we go to promote your business for radio. You fit win better prizes and you fit even come our events. Just go download the Women Radio app today. Make you hear yourself for radio. You fit go register free on top WFM917.com and make sure say you join the Facebook Women Radio membership group. The Women Radio membership gets support from MacArthur Foundation and Nigeria Media Innovation Program now.
Meet Tolu. She moves at the speed of life, and so does her bank.
With First Mobile by First Bank, I send money in seconds.
And with the new biometrics feature, Tolu signs up faster using just her BVN and face recognition. Safe, secure, and super quick.
Plus, I get instant virtual cards for safe shopping online.
Be like Tolu. Bank on the go. Download the First Mobile app today on the Apple and Google Play stores. First Bank. You first.
Women Radio
91.7. WFM 91.7.
Girl, it's Friday night, and I'm in the mood. I wanna do you right, alone. I wanna lose, yeah. Say you go choose me. I'm a young, say you go choose me. Yeah, cause I'm in the mood. I wanna lose it. Perfect situation, let me blow. It's a situation where you go. If you check my settings, you go cry for me. Baby, come and wine. Perfect situation, let me blow your mind. It's a situation where you come around. If you check my settings, you go cry for me. Baby, come and wine for me. Baby, I know Show my Lord to you. You know I get the money, and it's not my daddy money. Yeah. My honey bunny, don't be acting funny, yeah. Cause I've been around the world, yeah. Make anybody no go farther, yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that I still find. Sweeter and better, your specially designed. Yeah. See your body celeste. Oh baby, dip. Cause I've been around the world, yeah. Anybody no go farther, yeah. I wanna lose, share you go Josie. I wanna share you go yeah. Cause I'm in the mood. I wanna lose. Perfect situation, let me blow your mind. It's a situation where you come. If you check my settings, you go cry for me. Baby, come and wine. Lifestyle. Everything I do, lifestyle. Because when I with